What you're looking at is more than just charcoal. This began as discarded coconut shell, a raw material most people would never look at twice. But inside a modern production system, that waste is transformed into something precise, clean, powerful, and premium. Every cube is shaped by heat, pressure, testing, and control. And by the end of this journey, it won't just sit in a factory. It will travel across markets, enter luxury lounges, and become part of a refined experience built on consistency, performance, and trust. Most people only see the final result, a neat black box, clean charcoal cubes, a premium product ready to use. But that final image hides a much bigger story. Because long before this product reaches a lounge, a retail shelf, or a customer's table, it begins in a far simpler form: discarded coconut shells. What many people see as agricultural waste becomes the starting point of a carefully controlled transformation. And that transformation is where the real value begins. The process starts with raw coconut shells arriving at the facility in large volumes. But not everything is accepted immediately. The material has to be sorted, inspected, and separated. Any shells that are contaminated, too wet, broken in the wrong way, or mixed with unwanted debris are removed. This first step matters because consistency does not begin at the end of production. It begins with the quality of what enters the line. Once selected, the shells move deeper into the plant, where preparation begins. They are cleaned and organized, so the production line can work with more predictable material. Moisture is one of the biggest variables in charcoal production, so controlling the condition of the raw shell is critical. If the starting material is unstable, the final briquette will also be unstable. That is why the early stages are not rushed. Every strong result later in the process depends on discipline here. After pre-selection and conditioning, the coconut shells enter the carbonization stage. This is one of the most important moments in the entire journey. Inside a controlled high-heat environment, the shells are heated carefully until they convert into carbon-rich charcoal. This is not simple burning. It is a managed transformation. The goal is to remove volatile elements while preserving the dense carbon structure needed for premium briquette performance. When carbonization is done correctly, the result is not random charcoal. It is a cleaner, more stable base material with the right character for further refinement. The shells that entered as rough natural waste now leave this stage as blackened carbon material with real industrial potential. Even at this point, the product is not finished. In many ways, this is only the beginning. After carbonization, the material must cool in a controlled way. This stage is more important than it seems. If the charcoal is handled too aggressively or too early, structure can be lost, dust can increase, and quality can drop. So the cooling phase is managed carefully to preserve the integrity of the carbon before the next step begins. Once stabilized, the charcoal is crushed and processed into a much finer form. Large carbon pieces are broken down into powder so the material can be shaped with precision later on. This stage helps create uniformity. Instead of working with irregular chunks, the factory now works with a controlled carbon base that can be filtered, refined, and blended more consistently. From there, the fine charcoal moves into mixing. Here, the carbon powder is combined with measured supporting materials, including a natural binder and controlled water content. The purpose is not to dilute the charcoal, but to create the exact consistency needed for forming. The mixture has to be balanced carefully. Too dry and it will not hold shape properly. Too wet and it may deform. Dry unevenly or lose structural quality. This is where formulation becomes essential. Inside the mixer, the material is turned and blended until the texture becomes uniform. This part of the process may look simple from the outside, but it is one of the hidden foundations of product consistency. A premium briquette needs even density from one cube to the next. That evenness begins in the mix. Once the blend reaches the right condition, it moves to the shaping stage. This is where the material starts to look like the final product people recognize. Under controlled mechanical pressure, the blended charcoal is compressed into dense forms, then cut into clean, uniform briquette cubes. Precision matters here. The size, shape, and surface quality all influence how the briquettes will dry, ignite, and perform later in use. A well-formed cube is more than a visual detail. It reflects the accuracy of pressure, formulation, and machine calibration working together. Uniform geometry supports predictable heating, stable stacking, clean packing, and a more professional final appearance. This is where industrial control starts becoming visible. After shaping, the fresh briquettes are still not ready for the market. They now have to pass through a drying phase. This stage removes remaining moisture and helps lock in the structure of the cube. If moisture remains too high, the product may burn inconsistently, weaken in storage, or fail to meet premium standards. So drying is handled with patience and precision. As the briquettes move through drying, they become stronger, more stable, and more reliable. Their form is fixed. Their density becomes more dependable. Their readiness for testing increases. By this stage, the product has already come a long way from the raw shell that entered the plant. But one major step still remains, proving that it performs. That proof happens in quality control. Selected samples are checked for shape consistency, structural integrity, moisture condition, and surface quality. Beyond the visual side, the product is also evaluated for how it behaves. Does it ignite evenly? Does it maintain strong heat? Does it preserve its shape during use? Does it produce a clean and controlled result suitable for premium hospitality environments? These questions matter because premium charcoal is not judged only by how it looks in a box. It is judged by what happens when a real user lights it, places it on a bowl, and expects it to perform the same way every time. Only after passing these checks does the product move into packaging. The briquettes are arranged, counted, packed, and sealed into retail-ready boxes with a premium visual identity. At this point, the product is no longer just industrial output. It becomes a brand object. Packaging protects it physically, but it also communicates trust, order, and value. From packaging, the story moves into logistics. The finished boxes are grouped into master cartons, labeled, secured, palletized, and transferred into organized warehouse systems. Every movement now shifts from manufacturing precision to distribution precision. Inventory is tracked. Orders are matched. Outbound routes are prepared. The product that began as raw shell is now ready for commercial movement. From the warehouse, shipments move to loading docks, containers, and freight lanes. They travel through export systems, port operations, vessel loading, overseas arrival, customs clearance, and destination distribution. This part of the journey proves that premium quality is not only about production, it is also about maintaining trust across distance. A strong product must survive not just heat and pressure, but also handling, storage, transport, and time. When it reaches its destination market, the product enters a new stage of life. It appears in premium retail spaces, distributor channels, and hospitality stockrooms. A box is opened, briquettes are selected carefully, cubes are placed onto an electric heater, edges begin to glow, heat builds evenly. A service professional rotates the charcoal with practiced control, then places it onto a prepared hookah bowl. And here, the journey becomes personal. What began in the factory now enters the moment of real use. In a lounge, on a rooftop, in a refined private setting, the charcoal is no longer a process. It becomes an experience, stable heat, clean performance, controlled ash, smooth session flow, quiet confidence. This is the part the customer sees. But behind that calm final moment are sorting lines, heat chambers, mixers, presses, drying systems, testing standards, packaging control, warehouse discipline, and global logistics. Every part of the chain exists so that the final user does not have to think about any of it. They only feel the result. And that is what defines a premium product. Not just that it works once, not just that it looks good in a box, but that from raw material to final use, every stage has been shaped with purpose. So when you see a finished cube of charcoal Shisha USA, you are not just looking at charcoal. You are looking at selection, transformation, pressure, precision, testing, movement, trust, and a complete journey from natural origin to refined performance. From discarded shell to premium experience, this is the process from beginning to end.